With a little more than 3 weeks before Election Day, CBS News polled likely voters in 3 states last week for our Battleground Tracker poll. In Michigan, former Vice President Joe Biden is up at 52% compared to President Trump's 46%. In Nevada, the numbers are the same, a 6-point difference between the candidates. Finally, to Iowa, where the president won easily in 2016, the numbers are deadlocked, with both men holding steady at 49%. For more, Anthony Salvanto joins me now. He is the Director of Elections and Surveys for CBS News. Anthony, great to see you. Really fascinating look at these numbers here. So, first of all, has the president's coronavirus diagnosis had an impact on voters?
Hey, Elaine. Well, it hasn't moved the voters that he needed to move. You read those numbers from the top lines of the states. Michigan's still leaning towards Joe Biden, Nevada towards Joe Biden. Let me put that in context for you real quick. Of course, on the map, we've got Biden up overall 279 to 163 in the electoral votes of the states that are leaning towards each of them. Now, Michigan is going to be one of those key states in the upper Midwest where the president certainly needs to take back one or two of those, like he did in 2016 when he won Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, among others, en route to the White House. So all those leaning towards Biden right now. And then, to answer your question, let me go and show you what we found out when we talked to Michigan voters and we said, well, did the president's bout with coronavirus and how he handled it set a good example for the country, as of course the White House is saying, or did it set a bad example for the country? And more, by 60-40, said that it had promoted a bad example, the way they had handled it. And moreover, Elaine, when voters told us, a majority of them felt like the administration had handled the matter irresponsibly. You see these big majorities here, 59% in Michigan, 57% in Nevada, same in Iowa, all feeling like the White House handled it irresponsibly. And one more thing to add. As the White House is saying that this could be confidence building for people, saying, right, that people can beat coronavirus. Well, you look at the way people responded to what they think would happen to them were they to get the virus. Well, they feel by large numbers, 74% in Michigan, 77% in Nevada, that were they to get it, their treatment would not be the same quality that the president got. They feel it would be worse. So perhaps hard for people then to relate and feel that confidence. And that's part of the explanation for why you're seeing the numbers you're seeing out of these states, Elaine.
Really interesting, Anthony. Well, can you break down these latest numbers from the Battleground Tracker poll?
Well, one thing to add to all of this, Elaine, is I'm going to show you first the economy. Now, Joe Biden's handling, or would-be handling, of the economy in the minds of voters in Michigan is now even with the president's handling of the economy. That's something we haven't seen in a lot of states. And states after states, and viewers will recall, as you and I talk every week, we always say, well, the president may be trailing, but he's got an edge on handling the economy in state after state. Not as much here in Michigan. And the other part of this, too, is what's driving the vote? Well, it's personal ratings of the candidates. And we see a big gap between how Joe Biden is perceived personally at 56% who like the way he handles himself, and the 32% among Michigan likely voters who say that they like the way the president does. So that is strongly correlated with vote, and that in turn is part of the dynamic, at least there in Michigan.
Well, we know that more voters than ever before will be mailing in their ballots this year. How are voters feeling about that?
Big differences, Elaine, in partisan composition of who says they want to vote by mail and who says they're going to vote in person. Let me show you that. Now, if I scroll over here, and I'm going to give you this chart. There we go. Okay. Preferring to vote by mail. Look at this number from Michigan, Elaine. Democrats, 69%, but Republicans, 34%. And in fact, this is what we're seeing nationwide in the ballots, the returns that CBS News is able to analyze, and that's people who've returned ballots. We don't know how they voted, but when you look at the registration of people who've done that, Democrats are outpacing Republicans so far. Now, in the polls, they're telling us the same thing. Democrats have also been more concerned about coronavirus, so that's associated with a higher propensity to say they want to vote by mail. Well, I think that opens up a lot of interesting questions as we head towards November 3rd. One is, of course, Democrats have to navigate that process. Republicans, if they're voting in person, well, we might see closed polling places. We might see longer lines. Will they have to stand in longer lines? That remains a mystery. And that's a lot of uncertainty as we head towards November 3rd, how all of that will play out, Elaine.
Well, when you look at the map, Anthony, what states have turned into swing states, which were not swing states in 2016?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a lot of differences, Elaine, between now and 2016. Now, people might remember that in October of 2016, the polls started moving towards Donald Trump. We reported the polls were moving towards Donald Trump. This year, we've got a lot of stability in these numbers, at least so far, and so many people saying they've already made up their minds. Having said that, when I go back to the map, the places I point out that are kind of new battlegrounds, if you will, that really weren't in 2016, starts very much with Arizona and also, to some extent, Georgia. Both of those we've got in our toss-up columns right now. And one of the reasons for that is that we've seen voters in both of these states say they have a negative response to the way the administration had handled coronavirus. There's also fast-growing suburbs with college degree holding voters in both places, Metro Atlanta, Metro Phoenix, and those voters have been trending towards the Democrats. That's part of what's putting both of these states in play. And then the final one, which a lot of people have been following, is Texas. Now, we've still got it leaning red, but Joe Biden is close there, not trailing the president by much. Some folks have it even. And while it's difficult for the Democrats to win that state, depends on a lot of turnout, that's another one that people are watching this year as one of the new and possibly emerging battlegrounds, Elaine.
Wow, those three states that really underscore just how different 2020 is compared to 2016. All right, Anthony Salvanto for us. Anthony, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And check out the CBS News Battleground Tracker for real-time election polling and race ratings in all 50 states. Download the CBS News app to explore the latest estimates state by state.